Taking that example of the digital anatomy even further, we have to explore things like the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is literally a network of physical objects known as things that are built with sensors, software, and other technology for the purpose of interconnecting and sharing data using the Internet. So what exactly is the anatomy of IoT? IoT, just like most things, has its own anatomy requirements for full functionality. Because we're talking about physical things, hardware is part of the three layers that make up an IoT system. Hardware can be defined as tools, machinery, and other equipment, but more commonly as the physical components of a computer, such as wiring, hard drive, the machine, and other electrical components. Software is the program that tells the hardware when and how to operate. Without software, hardware would be nothing but an expensive paperweight. Software is best when it can be updated and optimized regularly through standard software updates, which cannot be completed without a network to tie everything together. A network is the collection and organization of interconnected devices that communicate between one another without the need for human involvement. Network protocols can set out the ways in which a network operates and communicates. As we assign the metaphor to AI as the conscious brain, we can also assign a metaphor for IoT. The Internet of Things operates much like a human nervous system, and the core of the human nervous system is sense. Humans have five core senses, namely touch, smell, sight, taste, and sound. Although devices aren't programmed to actively sense like humans, the objective is essentially the same. Humans sense for survival, and the five senses assist us in recognizing danger or opportunity. Much like this, IoT can assist the supply chain in funneling information back to the artificial intelligence. Based on the artificial intelligence's previous programming, it can automate the storage, response, and actions required to protect a supply chain or capitalize on opportunities for improved efficiencies. Because the Internet of Things is actively collecting sensor information and transmitting across a network, this provides a new opportunity for real-time analysis. Commonly in the past, supply chains would only be able to respond when information was received. Because of the various places information would come from, that information would then need to be analyzed before adjustment. When combining IoT and AI, we can move closer and closer to real-time collection analysis of supply chain information. Now let's talk about blockchain. There's a lot of misinformation and mysticism around blockchain. That's partly caused by the number of people that incorrectly think blockchain is Bitcoin. Blockchain and Bitcoin are not synonymous. One is the name of a digital currency, and the other is the platform that digital currency utilizes. Blockchains are also not all the same and can be developed for various solutions. It's important to understand that blockchain is simply a new database storage method. It came about as a solution to assist Bitcoin to become what it is today. As Bitcoin matured and the understanding around how blockchain expanded, various people in the blockchain ecosystems realized blockchain could be used to trace many things, not just financial transactions. Traceability has become a core construct of the benefits of blockchain, and it's obvious to see how that can benefit our supply chains. So before we explore that too deep, we have to understand what is a block. A block is similar to a file, but with one core difference. Most blocks have a predetermined size. For example, some blocks could be restricted to 1 megabyte or 1 gigabyte. It depends on what kind of data you are wanting to secure and how often it needs to be secured. Once the block is filled to its predetermined size, it is then secured using cryptography and then chained together with all of the other blocks that came before it. Blocks are always organized in a chronological order and are linear in nature. But what is the chain? The chain part of blockchain refers to the technique of blocks being organized in chronological order and visually would be understood by comparing blocks to links in a metal chain. Contrary to some chains, blockchains cannot be cyclical. Some of the benefits around blockchain and the reasons why it is so optimal to other data storage solutions when it comes to supply chain. Big one, it's decentralized. Decentralized means that there are multiple copies of the blockchain database copied and distributed across many systems. The objective of distributing copies of the blockchain is to create a way for the entire network to verify information in the chain and to act as a flagging system to recognize when information is changed without knowledge of the rest of the network. At this point, you may be able to see how beneficial this can be for the information sharing dilemma often found within supply chains. Some of the core concerns are our ability to trust everyone within your network. Blockchain effectively removes the need for trust as all information and changes must be authorized and verified by all parties involved. This provides greater confidence and relieves concerns around malicious participants changing information for their exclusive benefit. But when it comes down to it, blockchain is still just a database. Some individuals would call blockchain a panacea, that it will fix all of our issues in any system. This is both ignorant and completely incorrect. Blockchain may not be the answer for every data management system. However, as various companies have explored the applications and uses of blockchain within supply chain, the value is obvious and continual innovation continues to find the best solution for our supply chain dilemmas. So continuing the metaphor comparison to the human anatomy, the blockchain can be viewed as the memory bank of our digital system. It stores and secures information while communicating this same information efficiently with those authorized to receive it. Within the supply chain, to restate, the Internet of Things is the nervous system that collects and transfers sensor data from origin to the artificial intelligence that analyzes, processes, and responds, while also organizing and storing the data in the memory bank to be retrieved when necessary. An additional concept or an additional benefit to blockchain is a feature that some blockchains carry is the ability to create, manage, and maintain smart contracts. We refer to them as smart as they have the capacity to know conditions of an agreement and then track the fulfillment of each of those conditions. Once all conditions of a contract are fulfilled, the contract can manage payment from one party to the next. To make this more concise, smart contracts can automatically execute, control, or document legally relevant events and actions to fulfill an agreement. For those who understand the number of contracts that can be created with a single product across the supply chain, the full realization and implementation of smart contracts with supply chain will realize new levels of automation. A major need for most blockchain systems in the tracking and tracing of goods is the complementing technology that verifies the physical presence of a good along any point of the supply chain. This often requires some sort of mechanism that can be readable and store data that identifies the good that it is affiliated with and is tracking. Different industries may regulate the use of some tracing methods. However, with the adolescence of blockchain, the ecosystem continues to explore combinations of technologies to find the best solution. Some of these solutions come as radio frequency identification. This utilizes electromagnetic fields to automatically identify and track tags attached to objects. This consists of tiny radio transponder, receiver, and transmitter. In short, it transmits identifying data about the good it is affixed to prove location within the supply chain. Interestingly enough, there are two different kinds of RFID tagging methods that both must be considered before making a decision. These are passive tags and active tags. Passive tags are powered by energy from the reader's interrogating radio waves, meaning they have no internal power source. These passive tags are used in applications such as access control, file tracking, race timing, and most importantly, supply chain management. Active tags are powered by an internal energy source that connect to various access points through an area, such as a warehouse. These tags often directly transfer the data collected to a cloud database. Because of their connection directly to the cloud, active tag RFID could be considered part of the Internet of Things. As one would assume, one of the biggest detriments to active tags is the price. Quick response codes, more commonly referred to as QR codes, can store information both vertically and horizontally, and can store more information than traditional universal product codes. But what are UPC, or universal product codes? Universal product codes only store information horizontally and are highly effective for products requiring limited identifiable information. However, one of the detriments of both QR and UPC codes, or UP codes, is the requirement for line of sight. This means if a good is traveling through the supply chain, it requires the use of scanners to prove location and traceability at each transition point. If a good does not have its codes readily visible, it can disrupt the effectiveness of all tracking across the supply chain. When considering artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and blockchain as independent technologies, the value can be obvious to see. However, these innovations are all very complex, and a single person could spend their literal entire lives learning the intricacies and seeking to improve them as independent systems. This can be compared to silo issues created within organizations where departments are so focused on their individual assignments that they forget to work collaboratively and share information. For this reason, it's important to understand the basic anatomy of our future digital systems and the benefit obtained by combining their functionalities. So we look at what is the superiority that comes when combining. This is why it is essential to draw the final connections to show how technologies, when combined, can create superior management and delivery systems. Before we make that final connection, I want to relate an experience I had that was made possible only by multiple independent technologies being created and then an optimal experience being derived when they converge to create an optimal experience in record time. This example effectively comes down to the delivery of music. We've seen music evolution go from records, 8 tracks, cassette, CD, and then it transformed into a digital delivery system. Although this was an interesting application, none of this would have been made possible unless we had multiple independent technologies coming together to provide this. At one point, I was traveling between 2 cities and decided I wanted the newest album of the band that I like to listen to, and so I was able to scan my thumbprint to pay for it, and downloaded it within 5 minutes and was allowed to listen to it in my vehicle almost instantaneously. Although that experience made me excited and wow, technology is so amazing, when you really take a step back and look at everything that had to happen, it's incredibly complex. We first had to have digitization of music files. We had to be able to share those over a network. The internet had to be created. We had to have cellular towers because the only way that I was able to download that was through the use of cellular connectivity. Then we have the Apple iTunes Store and that type of software system. So as you see all of these technologies coming together to create an optimal experience, so can these new digital systems that we've talked about today come together to create an optimal and superior supply chain performance. So as we look at this with the example explored, we can then start to connect the convergence of technologies we've learned about today and how they can create a superior management delivery system for supply chain. The human body, again, drawing that correlation or connection, is an incredibly complex system that utilizes inputs and outputs and network flow. A human body's survival is dictated mostly by the body's ability to capture, store, and retrieve information quickly in the decision-making process. Likewise, we must view the supply chain as a macro system made up of numerous microsystems, all feeding back information to a core decision maker that can execute commands for the betterment and protection of the entire supply chain. Each technology discussed today assigned a human analogy that mirrors the purpose of each independent technology. When you step back and look at these collectively, we can start seeing how, when combined, they mirror the superior capacity of the human body. When discussing artificial intelligence, we compared this to the conscious brain. The conscious brain contains all of the thoughts, memories, and feelings and wishes of which we are aware at any given time. Artificial intelligence within the supply chain can contain these same things to improve speed at which decisions can be made. When discussing the Internet of Things, we compared this to the nervous system of the body. The nervous system has 4 main functions. First, controlling the body's internal environment to maintain homeostasis. Second, programming reflexes. Third, memory and learning. And fourth, voluntary control of movement. The Internet of Things within a supply chain seeks to maintain equilibrium, automate reflexes, meaning involuntary or automatic actions taken to prevent harm, provide a conduit for memory and learning, and voluntarily control all movements within a supply chain. Without a memory bank, we wouldn't be able to learn. This is why we compare blockchain to the human memory bank. Blockchain is a highly secure and trustless database management system that allows for the organization and capture of important data that creates value when shared among supply chain stakeholders. The blockchain is more comparable to an elephant, as the blockchain never forgets. Just because something may work well doesn't mean it can't be improved. No system should be left unmonitored, and all systems should be reviewed for the opportunity to create continual improvement. This is the basis of optimization.